This is my RuneScape. It is the most beautiful, fascinating game in the world, and the best part is, it never ends. Now, that could be good or that could be bad, depending on your level of gaming addiction. And for one player, it got so out of control that he spent $62,000 on RuneScape, which ended up Jagex, the company that made the game, at the mercy of the UK government. And the government asked a single very reasonable question: what the hell is going on here? Well, let's find out. There are thousands of NPCs in RuneScape that can hurt you, but the biggest enemy will always be yourself. Addiction is a real problem. We've seen that plenty of times with MMOs. Companies understand the leverage they have with microtransactions, and trust me, they are sending it at every possible moment. They know you're like a condom with holes in it, and trust me, the pumping won't stop. Good example of that is Diablo, absolutely notorious for their gambling prowess. First, you have to pay for the game itself, which is $70. Then, if you want one set of armor, which is gonna be useless in few months, that's another $25. You want a mount? Sure, $10. You want armor for that mount? Of course, that's another $15, please. Congratulations, you just spent $120 to be able to play the game. Of course, until a new battle pass or armor comes along and we repeat the same process again. Now, yes, you could just spend that $70 and be a pleb, but if you want to compete with other players, you need to shake your pockets for those golden coins. Now, you might ask, who is gonna spend $120 for these microtransactions? Oh, you sweet summer child. In the very first week, Diablo 4 made almost $700 million in revenue. In fact, even before this game was out, Blizzard made over $3 billion of profit just from microtransactions alone. And they're not the only one. Here is a League of Legends skin that costs $200. It's not even a skin, it's just an add-on for the skin. Everybody hated it. Riot said, hey, we're gonna make more of this because obviously it's printing so much money. Here is a set of Destiny 2 armor, $220. Here is a Fortnite skin that costs approximately $400. You get my point. The love for money is the root of all evil. And like I said, the players fall for this all the time. That's why these companies continue using these methods. They know once you're in, it's very difficult to get out. The more time you put into your account, the more money you're also willing to spend. Or maybe you just don't want to fall behind against other players. And that's exactly what happened to the protagonist of our story, a 25-year-old player whose love for RuneScape was also his downfall. But how does one even go about spending $62,000 in RuneScape? Well, let me show you. You see, RuneScape is divided into two games. Firstly, we have old school RuneScape, who is the cool kid in the class. He doesn't care, he is cool. The only way you can spend real life money in old school RuneScape is buying these bad boys. It's called a bond. It costs $7 and currently gives you a little bit over 10 million GP, which honestly is more than enough to buy decent gear for a player starting off. And the other RuneScape is called RuneScape 3, which is also where our protagonist faced the dildo of consequences without any loop. And RuneScape 3, well, how do I put this without offending the older sibling? It's absolute dog shit. I'm sorry, it has to be said. Just when you think bad updates stop coming in, they somehow dig their dirty little hole even deeper. And I can already hear some of the RuneScape 3 players watching this video and how their butt is clenching as tight as possible after hearing this. To that I say, relax your anus and get over your Stockholm syndrome, okay? Because the last year has basically been all about microtransactions, which has left the player base that gets smaller and smaller very frustrated. Jagex promised to start working on more updates in the future, but then released another MTX update a few weeks after the statement. Players started boycotting, saying, please, for the love of God that is good and evil, Jagex, I will suck your pee-pee if that's what it takes, but please, just give us anything here. And Jagex was like, yes, of course, we'll give you something. And you wanna know what they did? Yes, another microtransaction update next month. It's gotten so bad that players themselves have mapped out the 2024 roadmap for RuneScape 3, which is basically MTX throughout the spring, summer, and up to winter months. Take your pick. There are even series where players don't leave the tutorial island and just spend thousands of dollars to max out their accounts without experiencing anything in the game. They just buy the experience lamps from the cosmetic store and get maximum levels in all skills. And the reason Jagex does this is because, well, it works. Jagex has financial profit for almost 10 years in a row now. Coincidentally, also around the same time, microtransactions entered the game. This is a real quote from Jagex. We don't want players players to be able to buy their way to success in RuneScape. If we let players start doing this, it devalues RuneScape for others. We feel your status in real life shouldn't affect your ability to be successful in RuneScape. This quote was later removed after MTX became more popular. Treasure hunter keys, cosmetic items, rune coins, Solomon store, bonds, rune metrics, loyalty program, and few other payment methods which are all part of the Jagex profit system. And I must admit, it's addicting. I wanted to try it out myself just to see how the system works, and it's gambling in its purest form. You press a button and you get a result. The reason it works so well is because you always win. You always get something in return. Experience lamps, money, outfits, bonus experience, skilling tools, weapons, rare discontinued items, you name it. Imagine going into the casino and winning every hand you're dealt with. That's how it feels like playing this loot system. So you see how someone who doesn't have much self-control can just continue to keep playing this system without even realizing that they're throwing away their money. If you always win, it feels like your hard-earned money doesn't go to waste. And that's exactly what our protagonist felt like when he managed to waste $62,000 in a matter of months. On September 9, 2019, the UK Parliament revealed a letter from a concerning parent that stated how their adult son, aged 25, built up insane debts which were reported to be over 50,000 UK pounds. The bank statement said that the player spent around £250 per day, which on its own is not a lot all things considered, but concerns rose when he could continue purchasing every day without having any limits on how much money he can spend. The parents of this player also wrote a letter to Jagex saying that this is not okay and shouldn't be allowed, which they got a letter back from the managing director of Jagex who said, "We don't care if your son purchased and spent this amount of money and there's nothing we can do." The parents then sent this exact letter with their concerns to the government, and Jagex got caught with their PP in their hands. They were questioned and were forced to change their policies. Now, this goes two ways. Firstly, the family was put into debt, and the player who spent over $60,000 finally entered the find out section of the fuck around find out process. You are an adult. You take full responsibility for this no matter how you spin it. Yes, this is a predatory practice towards people with poor impulse control, but it's also legal. Instead of dealing with the core problem, which I bet isn't RuneScape in the first place, but rather than the gambling addiction, this player chose to dig a deeper hole. Secondly, Jagex at the end of the day is a business. If you give them money, they're gonna take it. It's like the time when people blame McDonald's for getting them fat. If you're gonna buy 50 hamburgers, they're gonna sell it to you. It's not their job to babysit you and tell you to stop eating too much food. Also, to the credit of Jagex, since then they have come around and started to make amends with the players. Firstly, if you spend more than £250 a day, you get a nice email from Jagex saying that you have the option to limit your spending or even block everything if you want. Now, whether it's helpful to whales who are gonna spend that money anyways is a question on its own, but at least it's a respectable business practice in a world of gacha games who wanna rob you blind. Also, it helps with liability the next time Jagex has to present themselves in front of the government. All they have to say is, "Look, government, we do have safeguards in place." Now, $62,000 is a lot. You can buy an apartment for that money in most countries. You can buy 62,000 Snickers bars, which is equally important. I think you can even buy a RuneScape GF for that. My point is, this is bad, because obviously this person is dealing with mental problems and Jagex took advantage of that. And like I said before, Jagex isn't the only company doing this. Almost every major industry leader uses the same cutthroat tactics to squeeze every single penny out of their customers. When doing research for this video, I literally found an article by Kotaku that said someone spent $150,000 on a Transformers game. Yes, a single player spent that much money on a game you never even heard of. And you wanna know who leaked that information? The CEO of the company that made the game. He was proud of this achievement that someone spent $150K on their shitty Transformers game. He even adds later on that they spend a lot of time to create an AI machine learning network that analyzes every single player and their behavior. The reason they made this tool is to figure out who are the whales and who are not. So every time you make a new account in game, the AI tool starts monitoring your behavior to see if you're planning to spend money on this game. This tool is supposed to have up to 95% accuracy in the future, and the idea is to target these whales with bigger package packages to squeeze even more money out. Everything is about maximizing profit and taking advantage of their customers. And the worst part is, these customers don't know when to stop. And the current main problem with Jagex or any other company is that there are almost no regulations against this sort of behavior. We have seen the first steps taken, but we still have such a long way to go. Belgium was the first country in the world in 2018 to ban loot boxes entirely, stating that this practice and exploitation is simply not okay. We've seen UK at least try to do something here. They do have heavy regulations against gambling, and companies that get caught have to pay heavy fines. The problem is this grey line between gambling and what these companies call skilled luck, which apparently is not gambling. Germany and Australia are putting age restrictions on all loot boxes, which apparently until a few years ago literally kids could participate in these microtransaction systems. A 15-year-old can spend thousands of dollars on these loot boxes without any consequences. When I was 15 years old, I ate mud and jerked off the entire day. There is no way in hell kids that age understand the consequences of their own actions. But we are moving in the right direction. Unfortunately, the ones profiting from this are the companies, and usually they are lobbying heavily against the ban of loot boxes. Because guess what? If you have a money printing machine, you will do everything in your power to continue printing money. Morals unfortunately have no place where money exists. And you wanna know where all that money goes? Well, let's take an example from Jagex and Runescape. The big reason why microtransactions exist is because of 7 people in Jagex out of 600 that work there. This lootbox system is set in place so that the top 7 directors of Jagex can earn the same amount of money as the rest of the 600 employees. These numbers are taken from 2021. Total money spent on wages, £35.7 million. Money given to the top 7 directors and key management, £17.4 million. Money given to the rest of the 600 employees at Jagex, £18.2 million. This makes me incredibly sad because as someone who has spoken to a lot of Jagex moderators, I would without a doubt say that they are the main reason Runescape is so successful, and yet they literally earn money which is a rounding error for the 7 smucks at the top. Especially these people. I think everyone who has played old school Runescape can confidently say these people are the reason old school Runescape has become so big and successful. Without this team, the game wouldn't be where it is today. So we have thousands of dollars taken away from people who are not in control of themselves, and a predatory system that is intentionally tanking the game in the long run only so that the dildos at the top can buy another mansion for themselves and then proceed to get a nice fat bonus after they retire when the game inevitably goes under. Welcome to the world of gaming in 2024.